Edge rusher might be one of the most talented positions in this draft. I mean, I know watching a lot of these players, we were talking about before we hopped on here. It's another one of those positions where we could have done a top 10 video and all of them could have been in the running. I mean, obviously there's a few clear favorites in this draft class, but
Right.
a lot of talent, a lot of a lot of really good guys that are going to make excellent additions to any team. Maybe Minnesota Vikings. We could always use more edge rushing help, especially with the injury history of Danielle Hunter and Zadarius Smith, of course.
Right.
I'm really excited about this edge class. How did you feel about it?
Yeah, man. There's some studs in here. I would definitely probably say it's the strongest, at least like the top 10 or whatever. It's probably the strongest position in this draft, in my opinion. Everybody knows there's probably a good chance that we see. There's a chance that we see 4 come off the board in the top 10 picks. 5, maybe even 5, maybe 6, 5 for probably in the top 15. It's just insane, including probably the number 1 pick, could be the number 2 pick too. And I don't know. So it's pretty insane. But before we move on to the top 5, I want to thank everybody for watching the GG Sport podcast of the Minnesota Vikings, where we endure heartbreak but always bleed purple. Hit that subscribe button, hit the bell, get notifications for more of our videos and all that good stuff. And yeah, let's jump into this.
All right, we'll start off number 5.
So our top 4 is pretty. A lot of people would probably agree, at least to who we have it. Maybe there's a little differences that people would like to see, but number 5 is the only one that I would say is somewhat different than what a lot of people would think. But
yeah, Arnold Ebiketie out of Penn State. Now, I pushed a little bit for David Ojabo for this spot, but obviously we both were kind of talking about it. There's the injury, of course, with Ojabo. It's going to drop. Obviously, it's going to drop his stock quite a bit. I mean, a guy viewed as a easy first round pick will probably drop mid-second. Potentially, I think we saw him drop to 3rd in a mock draft. Mock drafts always don't tell the real story, but I think there's a lot to like with Ebiketie. A big thing is, obviously playing in the Big Ten, plays against a lot of really good offensive linemen, and the guy, the guy showed out 8 sacks this last season. I like the size he has. I think he's a big dude. I mean, you can just look at him in the picture here. Very strong. Good with sacks, obviously. I think, we were watching. He had a couple blocked field goals as well. So there's a ton to like with this kid. And actually, his blocked field goal was how I figured out how to pronounce his last name. So I like him. I like him. I mean, you also could put another Big Ten pass rusher, Boye Mafe, in the number 5 spot, but I think Ebiketie beats him out for this spot.
Yeah, it was hard not to pick Mafe, just obviously, no bias, but. No, I was surprised to look into Arnold. What is it, Ebiketie?
Yep, Ebiketie.
A little bit more. Like you said, I really did like David Ojabo. I think if he didn't have that injury, I probably would have went him, but it would have been close because I just want to go into David Ojabo just a little bit. I just think the thing that sticks out with him right away is his strip sacks. He had 5 strip sacks this past year, and like from watching his tape and stuff, like you see it so often that it's crazy. And I think that's just one of those things that it's something you just don't teach so much. Like it's just a great knack to have, is to come in and you just have this natural ability to strip sack. Just like there's like cornerbacks. There's that, I forgot what his name was for the Bears, who just always was strip sacking everybody. And it's just one of those things that some people,
Tillman?
Yeah, that's who it was.
Peanut Punch.
And yep, it was just one of those things where it's like you just have that natural skill, and that's what separates Ojabo. But Arnold Ebiketie, like you said, he just looks. I mean, when I watched him, I was surprised that people are kind of sleeping on him a little bit because watching his tape, I mean, I feel like he can just kind of do a little bit of everything. And I think maybe one thing about him is his age is 23, which a lot of these guys are 21. But, I mean, he had a PFF grade of 88.4 in 12 games, 62 tackles, 8 sacks, 12 hits, 32 hurries, 1 batted ball, 2 forced fumbles. And like you said, he had a couple blocked field goals, and it just shows his athleticism in there. And we'll actually go into that a little bit. But he's 23, 6'3", 256. He's not as big as some of these other guys, which I think people might find concerning a little bit, but I mean, there's a lot of these guys are 6'5". But For him, though, he has 34 and 1/8 inch arms. So he has super long arms and 10 and 1/4 inch hands, super big hands. He ran a 4.65, which is still really good for his position. It's there's some of these guys that are faster, but 21 bench, his 38 vert was one of the best I've seen on these edge rushers, and so was his 128 broad. And then you've seen that when he blocks these field goals. And like you said, the competition with Big Ten is almost as good as it gets. So I think he's someone that someone's sleeping on. They have a lot of guys that they have above him, and I think he's someone that maybe has a chance to sneak in the second round. If he happens to be there by our second round pick, it would be hard not to pull the trigger. And if we did, I would be pumped about it, I think.
Yeah, be a solid pickup. All right.
But at number 4, Travon Walker. So this is another thing. I mean, there's a lot of people who have him going number one now, and it makes sense. I think the couple of things that are interesting with him is, he's just an athletic freak and very strong. He plays super hard and he hits very hard, which I really like. And one interesting thing with him is he lined up inside a lot, in the interior D line. So I don't know if people just think when he switches to more of an edge rusher type guy, he'll be able to just bring up his stats, because his stats aren't as crazy as some of these other guys. He had a PFF grade of 70.8. He played 15 games, obviously national championship, 33 tackles, 5 sacks, 9 hits, 20 hurries, 1 batted ball, no forced fumbles. He's 21, so young, 6'5", 270. That's insane. 6'5", 275, 35.5-inch arms. Fuck, that's the longest arms I've seen yet since we've been doing this. And almost 11-inch hands, also probably the biggest I've seen. Ran a 4.51 insane, didn't do a bench, vert 35.5, which is solid. Broad 123 solid, 3 cone 6.89, and shuttle 4.32, all really solid. Obviously, the top competition in the SEC. So yeah, he's oozing with potential, and I think that's the reason why people think he could go number 1. And he is young and 21. What do you think?
Yeah, ton of athleticism, a little bit of flexibility. And I think you mentioned this to me, and I noticed it when I was watching his highlights, that he plays obviously edge rusher, so plays outside, but they line him up inside a lot as well. Coming from that linebacker spot, he's got some coverage ability, a very versatile player. And that obviously, like you said, I could see him catapulting higher up in the draft due to those reasons. Because who was that guy? Like Isaiah Simmons, was that his name a couple years ago? Went to out of Clemson. Kind of the same thing.
Arizona,
yeah. Kind of, he's kind of the same thing. He could rush the passer. He could play a little bit in coverage. He was kind of a jack of all trades type of guy, and that's kind of maybe what you see here with Travon Walker. So a lot to like.
Right, he can chase. Athlete. Yeah, he'll run down wide receivers and all that stuff. So yeah, I can see the potentials oozing in this guy. I really do like maybe I'm a little safer because I like guys with high floors who also seem like they have very high ceilings. And that's kind of who brings me to the guy I picked in front of Travon Walker, Jermaine Johnson. I think this guy's an absolute stud. I think, I honestly, this guy, if it wasn't for his age in comparison, who is 23 and my number 2 is 21, I might pick, based off just what I've seen in highlights and all his stats and stuff, I maybe would have put this guy number 2. And I think it really does kind of come down to his age, but he just looks like he can do everything. It doesn't really seem like there's a huge knock on his game. What's that?
And Eden Prairie, Minnesota native.
Oh, is he? I didn't think I knew that. Yeah, yep. Shit, I should have put never mind. Let's switch him up to 2. We'll put him up to 2. Minnesota boy. We guys from Minnesota, we're tough out here, so we deal with a lot of cold and nonstop snow that still hasn't stopped yet. So
right. But anyway, go on. Sorry to interrupt you there.
Yeah, no, you're good. But no, this guy's a beast. PFF grade 82.3, 12 games, 70 tackles, 14 sacks, 7 hits, 25 hurries, 1 batted ball, 2 forced fumbles, and even got a touchdown. He's 23, like I said. I think his age, a lot of these, it seems like they're either 23 or 21, or they're 6'3" or 6'5". That's what I've noticed with a lot of these guys. But obviously, couple years older. So the potential, some people worry about that, I guess. But 6'5", 262, big guy, 34-inch arms, more definitely good good arms, about 10-inch hands, 4.58 40, which is still really good. 32 vert, broad, 125, solid. Some solid competition in the ACC. So yeah, I mean, I think this guy could definitely be a stud. He has the stats and the film to back it up. So I really like him. Do you have anything else that you like about him?
Yeah, I mean, again, I mean, that's what you said. A lot of these guys, you could just say, oh, good size and good athleticism. Though, I mean, I didn't feel like he was as quick as some of these other guys, on our list, and some of the other linebackers. But man, just powerful man, good tackler. Yeah, I think there's a ton to like. Minnesota kid. So if the Vikings took a chance, if the Vikings took a swing at him at 12, would not be upset about it. I would be okay with that.
Yeah, he's a guy that would be interesting. He could either he's like a Stingley where they have him either dropping near our pick or always picked right before us. I still would rather have Stingley, I think, but after looking more into this guy, he seems like a legit guy that could come in and be a future edge rusher, and you can't have enough of those guys, especially when you're running a 3-4 defense now.
Definitely.
So yeah, and then
a lot to like there.
Yeah, and then I'll let you go down to number 2.
All right, number 2, Kayvon Thibodeaux out of Oregon. Now, the first thing I noticed when I watched his highlights is how much he reminded me of Daniil Hunter, just with his body type, like big guy, like a physical specimen, speed, just that lankiness kind of to get around the edge. A ton to like with this kid. I think he was supposed to be. I know in our mock drafts he'd been taken like the number 2 edge rusher, but hadn't I heard something about him kind of dropping down a little bit?
A little bit. He was the consensus. He was kind of the consensus number 1 in the beginning of this whole process, and then Aiden Hutchinson which we'll talk more about him. Spoiler alert. Right. He's kind of take over that number 1, which I think is fair. But yeah, he was because I think he was a number 5-star recruit, if not the number 1 ranked recruit coming out of high school, actually. So he kind of has that going for him, and then going to college and being very productive and with all that athleticism and stuff right there. So I think that's kind of like the thing with him, is that he just has all this oozing potential since he was in high school.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
Like we said, he's only 21, but
big hitter, good tackler, a lot to like. Like I said, he's got that Daniil Hunter type frame. I think whatever team gets him is going to get an absolute stud. So looking at his stats here, PFF grade of 83.2. In 10 games, he racked up 49 tackles, 9 sacks, 11 quarterback hits, 27 quarterback hurries, and 2 forced fumbles. Like you said, 21, 6'5", 258, 33 and an 1/8-inch arms, and 9 3/4-inch hands. Hands are a little bit small. It doesn't matter for edge rushers, but there's a lot to like there. Just physically gifted and speed for days. Like I said, I think whatever team gets this guy is gonna get an absolute stud. I mean, the 40-yard dash of 4.58 makes him seem a little slow, but again, with straight line speed when you're an edge rusher isn't necessarily all that important. It's more about the quickness with that. And he benched 27 times, so that's pretty good.
There's a lot of insane edge rushers that come in and don't have a very fast 40 time.
Yeah. But I love the way this guy just he looks like your prototypical edge rusher. So there's a lot to like there.
Yep, he's a guy who he has a high ceiling and he's just oozing with potential. He's a guy that almost feels like he hasn't scratched like the surface of what he can be, and I think that's what people like so much about him. And a lot of these guys that we're talking about these top, same with Travon Walker. Chances are they don't come down to our pick, especially our number 1 guy here, Aiden Hutchinson.
Number 1 on our list and probably number 1 in the draft.
Yeah, I think so far he's the best prospect I've seen so far. It is crazy to me that people are even bringing up that Travon Walker or anybody else can be that number 1 pick. I think it's straight smoke. The Jaguars have to pick this guy. He reminds me exactly of like a J.J. Watt, and he's just insane. Going into all his stuff, I don't know he has like an insane motor, and you can just see him overpowering offensive linemen. He's using technique to get around offensive linemen, has like all the moves, never stops moving. His arms are just they seem so big and long, and they're just flailing around. Like, man, he just seems like every play he's just such a massive presence. I don't know what it is. It's crazy. I mean, in my opinion, he was the best tape I've seen by far out of all these edge rushers, and he has every single stat to back it up at the same time. He creates massive tackles, forced fumbles. I don't know. There's nothing I see on him too much. I think one knock that I may be seeing is he plays so fast and so hard. Like, maybe sometimes I feel like he gets behind the quarterback a little bit instead of but he always seems to have like that balance to turn back around and get up and grab the quarterback anyways. I don't know, but it's insane. PFF grade of 94.5, 14 game plays, tackles 62, sacks 14, hits 9, hurries 51, batted balls 3, forced fumbles 2, 21. He's 6'6", 265. His arms are actually, even though I swear they look massive, 32 and 1/8, which is actually quite low compared to some of these guys, but I don't care. He's a monster. 10 and a 4th inch hands, so good hands. But he ran a 4.74 40, which is definitely slower than a lot of these other guys, but a 36 vert, which is very good. Broad 117. That's a little bit lower, but his 3 cone was 6.73, which is the best out of all these edge rushers that we have on here. And I think that those are the kind of things where you have to, you touch the ground and stuff. I mean, you're turning your body more. Those are the kind of things that you kind of see the movements more that you see in an edge rusher when you do the 3 cone. So I think that's a big deal. And then a 4.15 shuttle run, which is also one of the best that I've seen of all of these edge rushers, especially for his size. Big 10 competition. I mean, yeah, the guy's a monster.
I mean, he's a very big reason why Michigan made it to the college football playoff. So, but yeah, just a physical specimen, absolute stud. Easy decision by the Jaguars to take the guy number 1 overall, I think. So if they don't, I will be absolutely shocked. But I mean, you just look at him, and he just has home run hit, just like it oozing.
Yeah, there's some guys you just can see on tape, and you're just immediately like, unless he gets injured or something, this guy's gonna be a monster. Like,
right.
It's just,
and I really want the Jaguars to take him, because if they don't, there's a very good chance Detroit nabs him at 2, and we got to deal with him for the next 4 to 5 years until Detroit.
Well, unfortunately,
really
like,
out of Detroit, but
I'd have to be honest, like, in pretty much in any, like, if he's on any team, I feel like, he's probably going to be a superstar, just all pro, one of the best defensive ends in the league. But if he goes to the Lions, he might end up a bust.
I don't want to find. I don't want to find out. I really do not want to find out. But yeah, any other thoughts on these guys at all?
No, I think that's the top 5 there. Yeah, I mean, there's some studs for sure, and we're gonna see a lot of these guys go before I pick at 12. But
I think if the Vikings did want one, for sure, I think for sure Hutchinson and Thibodeaux are out of the question. But I think anybody else is fair game, especially if quarterbacks start sneaking their way.
I mean, I would take the chance on Travon Walker. I put him at number 4, but I'm gonna believe what everybody else thinks about him, and he is a fucking absolute physical specimen for sure.
Right.
So I would take him at 12. And Jermaine Johnson, if we took him at 12, could be the best player available situation for us if Stingley's gone. Honestly, I mean, if Stingley's gone and not McDuffie, but like if it's McDuffie and Jermaine Johnson there, Jermaine Johnson, in my opinion, is the best case or the best player available at that point, where McDuffie would be the best player available of need.
Right. So for sure. But yeah, a ton of really intriguing edge rusher prospects here, and it's going to be an amazing class for that position. So if you agree with our list, leave a like on the video. Let us know your thoughts down in the comments on our list if you agree or disagree. If you want to check out some of our other videos, you can click the links right up here to go check out those. Most importantly, though, do not forget to subscribe to GG Sports Podcast, see all of our content up until the draft and beyond. And remember, we will be live streaming the draft starting 6:30 on April 28th. Hopefully, we will see you there. And until next time, this has been the GG Sports Podcast.
SKOL Vikes.